What's going on, guys? It's Jeff. Back over here on some more Black Ops 7. I'm towards the end of this grind. Well, sort of. So in multiplayer, it was the case. I'm gonna assume it'll still be the case in zombies here. But once you get through all of the golds, that's generally the really long part. Everything else afterwards just ends up flowing seamlessly. Much, much faster. So I usually assume when I'm done with all of the golds, which I have like 27 or 28 of them done now out of 30, soon to be like 37 or something for season 1. And I got like 7 bloodstones or something. Those bloodstones will fly by quick, and then the doom steals. Currently 9th prestige, level 30 something. To be fair though, it's another double XP weekend, so it's nothing really that crazy. So I've done a couple things a little bit different with the toxic growth and stuff like that. Also, I had people laughing at me for aiming at the zombies' heads with my knife to get kills in the later round and not using melee macchiato. I thought melee macchiato was for this attack, not for like every melee weapon. You know what I mean? And like I thought they meant melee attack, like that melee thing, not like an attack with the melee. You know what I mean. Yes, I did the entire knife without that. That wasn't the case over on the flatline though. So by the way, I want to thank everybody for all the love and support on the videos. And also, if you enjoy my videos, leave a like. Gotta get this like fumigator thing and then turn this on. And then I gotta get the overgrowth thing, and I can spray this with that fumigator from up there and then put the overgrowth on top of it so they can't destroy it, and it makes it grow faster. I didn't know that was like an intended interaction between them. It would actually make it grow faster. I know it's called overgrowth, but like, yeah, I didn't know it would act like that. There's plenty of things that would logically do something, but they don't. Anyway, the things that come out of that are incredible for the most part. Sometimes you get some not so good ones where you just keep getting the same pack-a-punch over and over and over again, but you still get at least the value out of it. Also, I saw that Exclusive Ace ended up dropping a small little video of him doing a small test, like a little sample size. It was like 5 or 10 games or something, where he tested like the overall matchmaking between them. Basically a very, very small sample size with a lot of like, nothing was concrete. Based on his results, there is some sort of like weird matchmaking thing happening. There is a difference between no SBMM whatsoever versus a minimally skill considered SBMM. I'm under the impression that the skill-based matchmaking does seem a little bit different, and it can be changed and affected based on if the account is lower skill rated or a lower level or a newer account or whatever. Like, there is a protected bracket at the very least, we know that, but also like the time of day and all that stuff also makes a massive difference with a lower skill-based matchmaking kind of thing. All of his testing things were like consistent across the board. Similar time in the day, right back to back to back, under the same exact conditions, same location. Everything is pretty sound. It's just a small sample size. But one thing that I haven't really had people like talk about overall, also I still have to preface this, a lot of people like assume that I'm a big like anti-skill-based matchmaking guy. I do recognize that SBMM does something very well. And I do believe that having SBMM is better for like a newer player experience at the very start, which does result in more retention. It just does. Now there's a lot of like caveats and stuff that come with it overall, but I do recognize that SBMM does do what it is designed to do. There are still effects that come from this. Even with SBMM, the player retention was still going down. But basically, this Call of Duty, like, is not selling a lot, as we know. It's optically doomed right off rip. MW3 dealt with that, like, optically doomed kind of thing as well, because it looked just like a DLC, and in a lot of ways it was. BO7 is in that similar camp. But not only that, it's done with, like, a premise that not a lot of people, like, really messed with to begin with. It's not something that anyone has really been asking for. So it's a game that already at face value is gonna sell less, right? But then you also take these like bad numbers as is already for them, like sales wise, but then you also do the skill-based matchmaking thing on top of it, which some people would, I don't know, maybe try to assume that like they could, I don't know, that was just a last breath attempt at getting sales or something, I don't know. But obviously looking at the sales, that didn't really work. Like advertising this as like the no skill-based matchmaking Call of Duty isn't really going to help the sales overall. Like people really don't give a fuck, especially like casual people that really have no idea what that shit even means. We already said that this would be the case before the game even came out, right? But my point is, they're basically cratering this Call of Duty all the way to the bottom. They're not just gonna like try to save face or anything. Like, they're gonna crater this shit all, and then they're gonna sit there and look at the, you know, minimal SBMM as the reason for it cratering that way. It's a part of it, but I don't think that that's the sole reason for it. In modern day gaming, I do think that SBMM is kind of, even though it has its problems, and I complain about them, and I'm not a fan of it, I think that the best case scenario is to somehow, like, have a skill-based matchmaking system just with less of the pain points. I know that sounds like common sense, but I think it's possible to have an SBMM system that doesn't have nearly as many drawbacks as the one that we currently have. All of them have their weaknesses. I'm saying that there's gotta be a system. I'm basically at this point advocating for just a healthier skill-based matchmaking system at this point. I'm not gonna live under the delusion that no SBMM is really the way to go, and it's not like this game proved it to me or anything like that. I had already said that skill-based matchmaking as a system does its job. It does result in higher player retention. In my opinion, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's resulting in a happier player base, but I'm not gonna go into that. Basically, my point being, I think that there are just less casual players overall, as is already. I think that maybe the beta felt a certain way because we actually had some real true casual players in there, as opposed to now there's just a lot less of them. It's not like they don't exist or whatever. I definitely still notice that there is still a more varied experience, and it's more fresh for me overall in terms of my multiplayer experience. I've been enjoying it. But I'm also considered on the higher end of players, so even based on like Activision's papers from before, players that are at the higher end in terms of like skill expression and stuff tend to actually play the game more when there's less skill-based matchmaking and shit like that going on. The thing is, you want a system that like benefits the majority as opposed to like just the few. I feel like it makes sense to cater towards the 90% as opposed to the 10%, right? It just makes sense logically, but there's still gotta be ways to make it not so painful overall and still even smoother for everybody involved. Even if the 90% is getting something that benefits them, even that can be improved upon. There's probably just less casual players overall as is. I mean, it's kind of like an X-Defiant thing in a way. Again, I said it before, I think that it's very likely with Modern Warfare 4, they're gonna, you know, roll everything back, probably never be like truly open and transparent with the matchmaking shit ever again, and then try to use this as an example as to like why it just won't work and we can't even talk about matchmaking and all this other shit. I don't want this to like basically sabotage future conversations we're going to end up having about the current skill-based matchmaking system that we're in, depending on whatever style. It's just very obvious that that's what it's gonna come to. We'll get to the conversation whenever it starts happening, but there is something weird going on with the matchmaking. They're not entirely transparent about it, but I don't really expect them to be. I never expected no SBMM whatsoever, just whatever was basically shown to us and sold to us in the beta. Some people are also saying like things like rug pull and stuff with like the aim assist changes and all that. People like Hexsmith that go and make these videos on it showed that the overall nerf was significant, and then the kind of rollback buff that they gave it didn't really roll it back very much. It was a very, very small buff in comparison to the actual nerf overall. Like if the nerf was say like 30% reduction, buff improvement was like less than 5%. So very minor in comparison. If that's a rug pull, it might be the world's first net negative rug pull I've ever seen in my life. This aim assist shit and the skill-based matchmaking shit, it's not helping. There is nothing that they could do for this game. Even if they turned it back all right now, reskinned, rebranded it as Modern Warfare 4, put the SBM right back where it is, slow, remove the fucking radar, use your compass, use your ears only, rhinoceros footsteps, remove ninja. None of that shit is going to bring people back for this. None of it. They just gotta put their heads down, face tank it for the year, and go from there. That has to be what their plan is. It has to be. Also, I know a lot of people are probably spending time with their families and shit today. Be safe, be responsible. It'll be nice for me to see everybody and argue and bullshit for the day. I'm gonna do the usual, nothing crazy. See my family, talk with people, watch some football and shit, the usual. Anyway, just giving you guys an update on the camo grind overall. Really excited to play routine and the other stuff coming out on December 4th. Hoping that I'll be able to be done with everything in time. I think I will be. If I can finish this within the next day of this, I feel like the end game grind, dude, people are telling me the end game grind is also fun as well. I'm hearing some people say it's really long, other people saying it's really short, other people saying it's fun, other people saying it sucks. I guess I'll have to see for myself, but I'm hoping I'll finish it in time. I really am. I'll be really disappointed in myself if I don't finish in time.